Week 15 started last night with a good game, but you need some tight end options or sleepers since you can't find a tight end. Here's a few tight ends that could possibly help you win your game this week. The first sleeper is Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears, and Kmet, he's been a guy putting up some decent numbers over the last few weeks, and he's playing a lot more as the rookie tight end for this team here now. He's playing about 70% of the tight end snaps for Chicago, and that's good. In the last few weeks, he's come on the scene. Week 13 versus Detroit, 5 catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown. And last week versus Houston, a mediocre game, 4 catches, 41 yards. This week, he's got a good matchup at the Minnesota Vikings that give up the 17th most fantasy points to tight ends. This game, I could see the Bears trailing, or it could be a close game like it was with these two teams in Week 10. So Cole Kmet, he's a big target. He's a big guy. He's definitely an athlete as well, a baseball player also in college, but he decided to go the NFL route here. And I think this week versus Minnesota, we could see 5 or 6 catches, 30, 40 yards, and Kmet finally finding the end zone. And he's available in 90% of leagues, so if you need a tight end, he's not a bad sleeper option. The second guy is Irv Smith Jr. We're staying in the same game. Irv Smith Jr., he showed flashes this season of some good plays and good fantasy points, and he's a tight end available also in 95% of fantasy leagues. And last week he had a career game, was Irv Smith Jr., 4 catches, 63 yards, and a touchdown. And this week versus Chicago, I think he'd have a great game as well. The Chicago Bears give up the third most fantasy points to tight ends, so if Kyle Rudolph's not going to have a big role and they're going to roll with this kid, Irv Smith Jr., he's going to be a decent start. And on the season, he's got a few touchdowns. We saw early in the year, he had a 2-touchdown game. On the year, he has 4 touchdowns, including the one last week. He's a big athlete. He can make plays, and he's a big target in the red zone where teams, they're going to be focused on Jefferson and Thielen, and that middle of the field could be open this week for Irv Smith Jr. So he's the second tight end sleeper, and the third and final one is Dawson Knox of the Buffalo Bills. Knox, he showed some flashes this season, and Josh Allen, you know he likes firing that ball all over the field, and Dawson Knox, the last few weeks, he's had decent games. In Week 12, 1 catch for 2 yards and a touchdown for 7.2 fantasy points. Week 13 versus San Francisco, 4 catches, 27 yards and a touchdown. And last week, 4 catches, 34 yards and a fumble loss. So the targets have been there for Knox. In the last 3 games, he's got 13 targets. That's not that bad. He can make a few plays, and he's a big threat too in the red zone. And Josh Allen, you know, he likes to spread the ball out over there. Denver, they're pretty decent defense, but in this game, I think Buffalo, they're just going to come out and throw the ball once again all over the field. And I think Knox, he could possibly get a cheap touchdown again in this one. And that's a few tight ends I could have as sleepers and you could use here heading into Week 15.